Mayweather-Canelo fight is the best fight that could be made in boxing because it's the #1 fighter in the world against the best available competition. Floyd has been on the pound-for-pound charts for over a decade. In the mid-2000s, he began to be recognized as the #1 fighter in the world. And nothing has really changed since that time in the sense that he hasn't lost a fight and he hasn't showed any signs of slipping. Canelo, for as long as we've been hearing about him, he's been touted as a legend in the making. And I think that's put off a lot of fans at first because he was getting a lot of attention and a lot of credit before having accomplished anything significant. I think, though, at this point, he is worthy as the #1 challenger for Floyd Mayweather. He beat Austin Trout in his last fight, in a fight that was considered to determine who the best junior middleweight in the world was. There's a little controversy surrounding that fight because there was open scoring. The judges had Canelo ridiculously far ahead, and for that reason, Canelo kind of coasted in the later half of the fight, knowing that he had a comfortable lead. So the fight really didn't come to its natural conclusion. As a fan, you want to see how he's going to pull out the championship rounds in a fight that was close in everyone's eyes. But if you take away the controversy, in my view, Canelo did enough to win that fight by a point or two. This was Austin Trout he fought, and this is the same Austin Trout who beat Miguel Cotto soundly, and the same Miguel Cotto who gave Floyd Mayweather a very good fight, the best fight he's had since Jose Luis Castillo. So if you connect the dots, Canelo is worthy of the position that he's in. This is a real fight, and it's Floyd Mayweather's toughest test, on paper at least, since Jose Luis Castillo. That was back in 2002. For me, it's the most exciting pay-per-view event we've had since Oscar De La Hoya Floyd Mayweather. I did not consider Victor Ortiz to have a realistic opportunity to win, nor did I think Guerrero would put up a legitimate fight, but this is a legitimate fight. This is a fight where, even though Canelo was an underdog, he has a realistic opportunity to win. Floyd Mayweather, you can't really identify a particular style that he brings to the ring, unless you just want to say boxer puncher, but that's basically like saying he can do a little bit of everything. Wherever you put him in the ring, he has an answer for it, and he can fight at any distance, inside, outside, mid-range. He's effective when he's on the ropes. He's effective in the middle of the ring. He can fight as a pure boxer. He can put pressure on you. He's a guy who can do anything, and not only is he technically proficient, he brings the same kind of discipline and focus that a hungry challenger has. With all of his success and all of the money that he's earned, he hasn't lost that willingness to train hard and to fight through adversity. He fought through adversity against Miguel Cotto. It was a tough fight. He was rocked by Shane Mosley and kept his composure and turned the fight around and swept Mosley from that point on. So, no signs of slipping in terms of his mental approach to fighting, as well as the athleticism that he's been showing in recent fights. Canelo is a guy who is hard to identify as well because he kind of fights according to the level of competition. And I think one fight that illustrates that is his fight with Gomez. He lost the first few rounds to Gomez. You might even say he was outboxed by Gomez in the early rounds. But in my view, he knew that he was going to catch him. He kind of laid back. He gave the rounds away, and he waited for an opportunity. He waited for Gomez to make a mistake, and he caught him. You could say it was a little premature, but it was going in that direction anyway. So Canelo is a guy who never looks to show his dominance or prove a point in any way. He just shows up to win. He did not look as sensational against Shane Mosley as, say, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, but he won every single round. He did what he had to do. He's always doing what he has to do to win. But in order to beat Floyd Mayweather, he's really going to have to raise his bar. He's going to have to show us something that he hasn't showed up to this point, because he hasn't looked sensational. The greatest thing that he's done so far is win, which is very similar to Danny Garcia, who will be fighting on the undercard. Not sensational, but he gets the job done. For Floyd to win the fight, you don't want to lock him into a specific game plan, because you've got a guy who can do a lot of different things. You want to make sure he stays in the middle of the ring, and the rest is going to speak for itself. He's going to be in great shape. That's his key to victory. Don't underestimate the situation, which I don't believe that he will, and be prepared to fight through adversity if it comes his way, and I think that he will. He's showed in recent fights that he is willing to fight through adversity. For Canelo to win this fight, he's going to need to establish a hard jab, which he always does, and throw combinations behind it. But the middle of the ring, Canelo can have his moments. He has against other fighters, but this is Floyd Mayweather. This is a different story. If you want to look at the fight with Miguel Cotto, if you want to use that as a comparison, Cotto had his most success when he had Mayweather on the ropes. And I think that's Canelo's best bet, is to put Mayweather on the ropes and keep him there and do his work right there at that particular place in the ring. And it's a tough situation for him, because I don't really think that this fight comes down to game plan. I think it comes down to greatness. You can give a guy a perfect game plan, but it's not going to work against a Floyd Mayweather type of guy unless he's a great fighter. And for Canelo to win this fight, he's going to have to be a great fighter, plain and simple. The way that I see this fight playing out, I think the first couple of rounds, Canelo is going to be a little bit out of sorts. He was a little out of sorts against Austin Trout. He was thrown off by Trout's athleticism, his speed and his reflexes. And I think that those first couple rounds, it's going to take him a little bit of time to figure out what to do. By the third round, I suspect he will have at least somewhat of an understanding as to what to do with his hands. And I think that's going to be the moment that Canelo starts to come on. Rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The success that he has in those rounds, the damage that he is or is not able to do, I think is going to determine whether he goes on to win the fight, assuming he doesn't catch him and stop him. Anything could happen in this scenario, but I predict a distance fight. And what kind, Canelo is a mid-round fighter. His rounds are the middle rounds. And what he's able to do at that particular moment is going to determine whether he goes on to win the fight. He has some stamina issues later in the fight. But if he is able to hurt Mayweather or handicap him in some way, I think that he will have the gumption and the momentum to pull out a decision, if he is able to do any damage of significance, despite his stamina issues. But in this scenario, I have to go with Floyd Mayweather, mainly because you give him the benefit of the doubt, because he has more options, because he knows how to capitalize on his strengths and limit the other fighter's weaknesses. Limit the other fighter's strengths. Canelo outweighs him by 20 pounds, but Canelo is not a physical fighter. Canelo needs to make it a fight. He cannot sit there and lay back and pick and choose as it is his custom. He fights within a certain comfort zone, and in order to have success, he's going to have to leave that zone. He's going to have to bring out a little bit of dog inside of him. He's going to have to flip the switch a little bit. And I just don't think he has the mentality of the kind of fighter who is willing to bite down and make it the kind of fight it needs to be in order for him to win. I think that the middle rounds are going to be competitive. I think it's going to be a very exciting fight, but once we get to 8, 9, 10, 11, I think that Floyd will have weathered the storm. I think that Canelo will have shown him everything that he's capable of doing and that it won't be enough, and that Floyd is going to be able to come out on top. And you know what? That's just one possibility. It could go either way. This is a fight where Floyd could realistically lose. What if Floyd broke his hand in the first round and he's got to face this young, tough, undefeated lion for 10 or 11 more rounds? Anything could happen, and Canelo could be the guy who just beats him, not by doing anything specific, but just making the right choices, as he has made the right choices in the past. This is a real fight. This is an exciting fight. And if anyone has something on the line, it's Floyd Mayweather, because he's been accused in the past of avoiding the best available competition. Here he is facing the best kid on the horizon. If he loses this fight, his critics are going to say there was a reason why he didn't fight Antonio Margarito, Costa Tszyu, a prime Miguel Cotto, Manny Pacquiao. But should he come out on top, that's going to silence some of that criticism. They'll say that was all nonsense, it doesn't matter anyway, he's proven his greatness. But in the eyes of a lot of people in the boxing world, he has to prove himself against the best available competition, not just very good fighters, but a young, undefeated prospect who's on a hot streak. This is this fight. And all of those questions that people have had about Floyd Mayweather, they're going to be answered on that night.